People of Earth, Gig Host.
Gig Host. We play Gig Host.
Hey, I'm Marla.
And I'm Willa.
And we're back with more stories.
Because we are
The
Gig
Hoes.
Hoes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You worked a lot this weekend, Marla.
I know, I'm exhausted.
This was one of those, this is a Memorial Day weekend.
I do this gig where it lasts for 8 hours, and that's not the longest one I do at this club, because July 4th, it's like 10 hours.
Oh, my God.
And the last half hour is, and I'm proud to be an American.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
While the fireworks are singeing my eyebrows,
Oh, my
because
God.
I'm close to it, where everybody else is behind, like police tape.
So the ash floats down.
Well, it's just like it's right. You feel the heat. It's right in my face. But it's like everyone else is safe, but me.
I feel like that's a song. Can you feel the heat? Right? There must be a song like that somewhere.
Can you feel the heat
Tonight.
Oh, yeah, tonight. I like that we're always singing because
I know.
any phrase, anything on TV, like it reminds us of a song because we have so many song lyrics in our brains. If we donate our brain to science and they open up our brain, they're going to find two little reel-to-reels.
But I know. Well, isn't
Or
that
cassettes,
that's
or-
that thing I sent to you this morning? Someone sent to me, right? Dwayne's brain is 5%,
Yes.
5% useful thoughts, 5% chores, 90% song lyrics.
It's really true.
I know.
I can't stop, and I hate myself sometimes. It's like,
Well, my husband definitely hates me sometimes.
well, that's part of the program.
How does your husband take it?
And, you know, I think I got him doing it now, too.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, he's walking around singing, you know.
Good. So we were talking about our out-of-town gigs, and I thought of one ill-fated gig in Cancun. It was for a wedding at like a boutique resort in Cancun. So boutique meaning bad electricity, no air conditioning, tiny, weird.
Were you staying in a hotel? Or
We were staying in a giant resort hotel.
So it should have been nice.
If the gig had been at that hotel, we would have been good. But the other hotel, the boutique hotel, was where the wedding was, which was down the road a ways. And that was the one with no air conditioning.
Boutique is the code name for
I said
quaint for
bad, no air conditioning and very bad electricity.
Oh, it's quaint.
Yeah.
Sweat, quaint
Right.
droplets.
And this was in the time when SARS, remember SARS? It was like pre-COVID, one of those terrible
Yes, sure.
flu. Yeah. So SARS was making the rounds in South America. Right.
What year was that? Do you
I
remember?
don't know. It was definitely the 90s, sometime in the 90s. So, it was the regular crew. We all fly down there. It was for Shmen Pames.
I'm impressed.
Yeah,
You came up
Schmem
Schmem Pames.
So he sent us down there, and he had the brilliant idea to make my brother, who was the band leader, rent a car in Mexico. Like, instead of getting us a driver, because we had to get from the resort to the gig place.
I
right?
bet I know why, because I considered renting a car in Mexico once.
Was it really cheap?
It was
That's
it was like $1 a day, but the insurance was $50 a day.
why. Right, but that's still cheap, right?
Well,
No.
it's not that it's cheap; it's just that it's
Right.
normal. You
Right,
know,
right. It was a very bad idea. You have to drive on the other side of the road.
Mexico's on the other side of the road.
Yes.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, trust me.
yeah, I believe.
And, my poor brother, he had a lot to think about already, running the gig and everything. And on top of it, he was driving the car. So we get to the resort, and they had a big disco kind of a place. And you can just imagine me and my brother and the bass player.
Yeah.
The drummer. We're all sitting there, and they're playing, hey.
Hammy Flaxelrod.
Sorry, audience. That was a good one.
Oh no, I'm not even thinking of the right one.
Oh, no, that's fine. Oh, God. Anyway, we're all sitting there, and they're playing, hey, hey, baby, ooh, ah. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that was the theme all weekend.
Horrible.
And Hammy just thought that was hysterical. And there was a sax player, guy from Maine, nice guy. But anyway, next morning we all pile into this van to go to the venue, right? 12 hours before it's going to start. And we figure, we got to meet the sound company there, and we got to get set up, and we got to make sure we'll have plenty of time to come back to the hotel, except there's a traffic circle in front of the hotel, and my brother, who's driving in one direction, and this flour truck or bakery truck comes around the bend,
no.
and the sax player yells, "Look out." So my brother stomps on the brakes, and he ends up hitting a palm tree and knocking it over.
God.
So the gig hasn't even started. We haven't gotten where we're going, and now we got this whole situation.
Police came and everything.
Yeah, we had a promise that we would pay for the tree, which basically, what did I say his name was? Plin Flames? I don't know.
Plin Flames.
Yeah. He had to pay for the tree, so that knocked out all the profit of the gig. So my poor brother was already upset, right? And then we get to the venue. It took 4 hours just to get the electricity to work. The sound company didn't show up for a couple of hours. And then when they did, it was just like impossible to get the electricity working. And there's no air conditioning. It's a zillion degrees. And it's just...
No offense, but I'll never go to Mexico again for anything.
Oh,
I've
my-
been there twice, and it's...
It was
Not
just
worth
brutal.
it.
It was brutal. And we were like exhausted. We had just enough time to go back to the hotel, shower, and change,
And do the gig.
and do the gig. And of course, you won't be surprised to hear that the ceremony was on the beach, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's always a fun thing to
Yeah, and I had
carry your stuff through sand.
And the precarious electricity, I had to run it to the beach, and it was turning on and off. It was just horrific.
I mean, now they have all these amps that have batteries, but then they did not.
Yeah, I used one of them today. The one you recommended, that Bose, that little, so
Oh, yeah?
good. Yeah,
Instead of the S1?
yeah, the S1. Anyway.
Oh, right, the Bose, right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something else.
So the gig happens. We drag our asses back to the hotel. We get up the next morning. I did.
Were you flying out the next day?
Yeah, and
Thank
you
God.
know me. Did I swim? Yes, I did. I swam a mile the day before, and I swam a mile the morning after. I got up at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And then, when we get home, me and the drummer had SARS. Yeah, we were
SARS?
sick as dogs for like 10 days. The fever, chills, the sweats, the
There was no
hacking.
vaccine.
No. So that was Mexico. And yeah, the drummer and I were like on the phone with each other for like the next week, commiserating while we hacked and coughed and sneezed. And
That's a drag.
Ah, it really sucked.
We did a gig in Thailand, and I know some people came home with the Hershey squirts,
Oh, yeah.
You try to not to drink the water, but if you have anything with ice in it, you're drinking the water.
That's right.
And if, we were in Thailand for 5 days, it was just interesting. I mean, everybody's cooking food out on the street, and there's stray dogs walking around. We did a gig for, I think it was Digital Computer. I mean, it was a great experience, but I remember we left at 9 o'clock, and it took 23 hours to get there, and we were having like hallucinations. And like the very last leg of the trip was a bus ride for an hour from like where the airport was to where we were playing. And also at the time in the 90s that you were allowed to smoke on planes.
Oh, yeah.
And on the trip to Japan from California, there was a guy that kept coming to the empty seat in front of me and having a cigarette every half hour.
Oh, because you were in the smoking section.
No, there was. It just wasn't even a smoking. You could just have a cigarette.
Yeah.
It was the most insane thing. And then there was a kid behind me that was kicking my chair for 9 hours. And when I said, your kid is hitting my chair with his, he liked to do that. And what are you going to do?
I just want to, it wasn't a gig, but my family, we went on a trip to the Greek islands, and we flew.
I remember that.
Yeah, so we flew to Hamburg, where, of course, we were on a layover for like an hour, and my brother had to make sure he went and had a hamburger, because, we had a layover in Hamburg, and that's how his brain works. But anyway, the last leg, which was from Hamburg to Athens, it was like the Seinfeld episode where he's in first class and you're Elaine.
Oh, yeah.
Because I ended up sitting next to this lovely woman who's a retired teacher, and we're talking all about John Milton and Donne, poetry and all. And my husband, meanwhile, has this 3-year-old behind him kicking the seat the whole way, and he just keeps glaring at me across the aisle.
Yeah.
Hi, honey.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Okay. I will tell the story of Vermont. We had a gig. This is a different band. It was a tent party, in Vermont in November near Thanksgiving. So I have to say right away, what kind of idiot has a tent party in November in Vermont?
There's a lot of idiots.
I know. Anyway, the winds were whipping at 60 miles an hour on the way up there. It was cold. It was in the 40s. And I get there. It's a big, substantial tent, but it's still cold. And it was 6 hours.
The gig, right?
Yeah, and like always, me and the sax player, we had the first two. Usually the audience, the sax player will play flute for the ceremony, and then we'll play the cocktail hour, and then... So my fingers were freezing. And to get to the ladies' room, I had to go outside of the tent and around the corner of this other building. And as often as I could, I was running over there to run my hands under hot water because it was so cold.
I've done that.
Yeah. And meanwhile, the wind is like that other story I told about being on the beach at the Crescent Bay Club. The wind is sucking the tent up into the air. And
Right.
It's got this draped top.
Yeah.
Like a harem. So it's going like this. Right, as it's rising and falling. And they had these metal struts going horizontally, holding the tent in place. But by the time the ceremony's happening, the guy's playing the flute and me, and those metal rods are like,
While
they're
you're playing.
vibrating. Yeah, and then, okay, so that ends. Now we're playing the cocktail, and the rest of the band is showing up, and they're all looking, giving us the hairy eyeball, giving the tent the hairy eyeball, giving the band leader the hairy eyeball, because now one of the metal rods falls out of place.
Yeah, it's dangerous. The whole thing could fall down.
Right. And me and Jeff were just playing. The bass player said to me, Larry, God, Will, you're such a pro. You were just like full steam ahead. So we get to where dinner's about to start. And they were making the food in this other barn outside the tent, right? So the woman who's running the party gets on the mic and she goes, well, we've been watching the weather and it looks like it's only going to get worse. So we're going to move the party. We were outside of Manchester. We're going to move the party to the so-and-so inn in Manchester. And by now, it's really deteriorating. And the caterer says to us, leave your equipment, come back from land. I'm not leaving my equipment. Are you crazy?
Yeah, so it'll blow away.
Or get knocked, crashed on by the...
Of course, it's ridiculous.
So, of course, our cars are parked a quarter of a mile away somewhere. We got to find them. They're in some field in the pitch dark. We got to find our cars, get them there, get our gear in there.
We're a nightmare.
Really. So now we get to
the new place.
The new place. And we lost 2 people on the way. They were like, screw it.
Were they ever found again?
No, they just went home,
They went home?
Yeah, they went home. One of the singers and somebody else. Can't remember who.
They just went home.
They just decided they'd had enough. Yeah. Even though he'd gotten us these lovely accommodations in a Motel 6 2 hours away. I guess because it was Thanksgiving weekend maybe, and that was cheaper. So at the end of the gig, we had to drive like 100 miles down these winding roads for 2 hours. Great. But anyway, so we get to the new place. It's like a regular hotel, like a Hilton or something. I mean, they have an area that's like obviously the ballroom that they make by pulling various doors together. So they got a big ballroom. And by the way, we're all starving because now it's like, 10 o'clock at night, right?
And you haven't eaten for a long time.
Right. And they're all in the tavern part, the guests, and me and the sax player are playing there. But here's the best part. Here's like the punchline. So I've already set it up once, broken it down once, put it in the car once. Now I come to this new place, and I got to get it out of the car again and drag it to the new place to set up in the new place, right? I'm coming through the vestibule, and here is a young guy in a tux, wearing the Italian loafers without any socks. He's that guy.
Yes, got it.
This is the conversation I'm going to do with Bob Newhart. Yes, I understand, but I don't think you understand me. What I'm asking is, how many pizzas can you make? No, I don't want a pizza. I don't want a couple of pizzas. I want to know how many pizzas you can make. How many? I want to buy out your entire stock of pizzas. Can you make 100 pizzas? I want 100 pizzas. Can you deliver them to the blah blah inn?
That was the wedding food.
That was the food, and that's what happened. They delivered like 100 pizzas or 50 pizzas.
It's
or
probably
whatever.
the better food they ever had at a wedding than
Well,
they
I
could
don't know
have
about
had.
that, but the pizza guy was certainly happy, I'm sure.
Now, he has a story to tell.
Oh yeah, it was just hilarious.
He's going to have a podcast called Pizza Hose.
So the best part of the gig, of course, was the next morning when we all met in some diner near the Motel 6, which was a really weird Motel 6 too. It was all like bright primary colors and geometric shapes. It was so weird. It was like being in an Alexander Calder painting or something. But yeah, we all met at the diner the next morning.
And shared the stories.
Oh, yeah, we just did this, what we're doing. So that was my Vermont in November gig.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah.
I have like a good out-of-town gig to tell.
Oh, good.
You know, that doesn't happen often, but...
Oh, you mean one that was fun?
Yeah, one that had a lot of good stuff happening. Okay. Well, we went to Hawaii for 2 weeks.
Ooh.
For 2 weeks on the Big Island, which was amazing. I fell in love there. I was going out with somebody by the time I came home, but they gave us each our own 2-bedroom condominium to stay in. Like,
holy cow.
Full kitchens. They gave us 3 cars to rent.
Wow.
And we only worked like 6 days out of the 2 weeks.
Oh, my God.
So I went snorkeling. We saw an active volcano.
Wow.
You know, it was really an amazing gig.
Was this like a corporate gig?
Yeah, they were all corporate gigs when we did them out of town.
And audience. The corporate gig. The corporate gig is a different animal than the wedding.
Yeah, they bring people in from all over the world to this one location, like Digital Computers, or I forgot the other company in Hawaii. And then we did like the outdoor thing and then the formal thing the second night. And then the second shift of employees comes in. I mean, that's just how much money corporations can... Well, they used to. They don't do that anymore.
Well, they sometimes do. I did a gig in Palm Springs.
When? In the 90s?
No.
Recently?
Within the last 10 years, certainly. And it was for some diabetes machine or something. It was in February, Palm Springs in February. Very nice.
Not bad.
Yeah, they had a show. The industrials audience, often they put lyrics to songs that everyone knows, like Can't Stop Believin' or something, but they stick in the name of the company.
Can't stop diabetes.
Yeah. Like, oh, you know what?
Ozempic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, no, don't say that.
Sorry. Maybe they'll be a sponsor.
Yeah. Y2K, I did a gig on Star Island in Florida.
That's really high end, right?
Yeah. It was only 100 people. It was the top executives internationally for FedEx. They all got flown to Star Island.
Was Tom Hanks there?
No, nobody. No, it was just the FedEx people. But yeah, they flew us all down.
No, you're missing the point. Castaway. He was the Wilson. I know. People are always yelling Wilson at Tom Hanks.
Yeah. So that's nice that you had a good one.
Yeah, and then I came home and then I was involved with the bass player who I got on the gig after for like another year and a half. I thought I would marry him. Is this the guy you
fell in love with?
Yeah, I thought I was going to marry him.
Wow.
Didn't work out.
What happened, may I ask?
He wanted to live alone. That's what happened. He wasn't ready. He was never ready. But, whatever.
I told you when we met I was no good.
I should have listened.
I had a crazy aunt. She was really crazy. I mean, clinically crazy. But she did have one particular really good piece of advice. She says, those guys who say, stay away from me, I'm no good?
You should listen.
You should listen to them. They know what they're talking about. That's what she said to me.
Well, it's true. They say people tell you who they are. You just have to pick up the clues. They might not tell you more than once.
Yeah.
Because I dated someone else, too, who said, I'm a little afraid of intimacy. He told me that once, and that was our demise.
We should talk about on-stage romances.
That would be like 2 years' worth of episodes.
Well, audience, I think we're going to have to delve into that next time.
Oh, sure, at some time.
But I did have another one also, whatever I called him, pen flames.
Pen flames?
Yeah. He sent us on it. They had seen us, these people from Ohio saw us do a gig on Long Island, and they hired us to play the wife's 50th birthday party or something. They were they were so rich that they didn't seem rich, you know what I mean? They were that kind of rich. They had a farm in Ohio, and they flew us all out there. And we stayed in a really nice hotel, and they were really nice to us. And the thing I remember about it that was great is that one of the guests was Bob Seger's keyboard player. So we were like, you want to sit in? And he goes, well, if you want to do all-time rock and roll, yeah, but I don't think I can sit in on anything else. Oh, sure you can. He goes, no, I know what I know, but you guys, I don't know what you know.
That is worth pointing out that maybe sometimes people will look down on the club date musician in general, but they have a certain skill set.
Yes, we do.
That even it's hard to compare, but like a big jazz artist we can't do what they do,
Right.
but they can't do what we do because we just have
Definitely
like it's just like a repertoire thing and a good ear, because the songs are endless.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of gigs these days where I'm just asking for requests, and they're very wide-ranging. Even today, I played, somebody wanted to hear Feel Like Making Love, somebody by Roberta Flack. Somebody wanted to hear one of the old Beatles songs. Not I Want to Hold Your Hand, but something like that.
She Loves You.
One of those.
Yeah.
It's escaping me right now.
Well, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It's just,
It could be anything.
yeah. And I mean, you and I, we can literally, and I did that today a couple of times, we can look up the lyrics and know how it goes in our heads, even if we've never played it before.
As long
and
as
play
we've
it.
heard it, you just you just remember all the parts.
Right.
Well, last week I had different gigs where on one gig I was playing for a 90-year-old, so I had to play Glenn Miller.
Oh, I did that today, too.
And then, like, the next night I DJ'd a gig where I had to play all Latin music, and I wasn't kind of, like, prompted to do that until I got there.
Yeah, but it's a completely specialized skill set. And that was kind of great that this guy who's in a world famous band, Bob Seger, he was just in awe of what we were doing. The fact that we could go from,
Absolutely.
Harry Belafonte.
Well, it's nice
to
that he realized
Beyonce
that.
to,
I thought of another one, our same band that went to Thailand. By the way, and we opened for, no, we didn't open. Buster Poindexter opened for us because he was the headliner, of course.
Oh, right, yeah. So you were the dance band after the act.
I was the
right?
dance band after
Yeah.
the act. And the funny thing is, there was somebody in his band that I didn't know, and that was the guy I fell in love with in Hawaii. So it was, and I had pictures of him
wow.
before I ever met him.
Oh,
Because I took pictures of David Johansen's
Right.
band, and then it's
Wow.
like, oh, there you are. So anyway, we did a gig in Palm Springs. It was another corporate gig. It's just a short story because I don't remember much about it, but it was the beginning iteration of a particular band I was a partner with, and the leader and the bass player got into some kind of disagreement on stage.
were they screaming at each other?
They were screaming, and I think one of them went to hit the other one,
Ooh.
and then so one of them walked off stage, and I don't remember how he got home, if he went on the plane or he took another flight, because this was in California, But that you can never do that on stage.
I know, and yet people do it so often.
Well, the bass player, he was actually in the news about 10 years ago, if you remember.
The one you fell in love with?
No. This is different. There's been many bass
So many, I
players
know, me
passing
too.
through.
There's a certain appeal about bass players.
They keep it all together. Boom, boom, boom. But
on the news. He was on the news.
well, on the news about this particular guy, and I guess he was a troubled guy. There was a story about a guy who had a big kitchen knife, and he was walking down Fifth Avenue, and all of a sudden there were all these cops that were walking. It was like a slow moving thing because there was video of it. He was walking away. It was almost like he wanted to be killed, and they ended up shooting him to death
because he had a kitchen knife. And
he had a kitchen knife, and he just wouldn't put it down. He was
I
walking
kinda remember
away.
that.
Yeah,
And this was the
this
guy?
was the guy that walked off stage.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, one time he jumped out of a window. There was a lot of sad stories about him, but he was
Yikes.
so good.
Yeah.
But that's like another aspect of it. The most
Crazy
talented people
Yeah.
can be like the most
I
faulty.
know.
And
Yes. One of the most walk on the wild side kind of relationships I ever had was with a bass player from a friend of mine that was in a band. And that was
well, what are you laughing about there?
well, it was just out there,
because his personality.
No, he was kind of nice, but he lived in the demi-monde. I mean, he would bring me to speakeasies, clubs that didn't open until 4 a.m. One was like a Chinese restaurant, but at 4 o'clock it turned into a club between 4 and 8 in the morning, and all kinds of wild stuff went on. It was that. But I'm glad I had that experience.
Yeah, it's a chapter that
Yeah.
you lived, and
Yeah, and I have to say, I kind of relived my teens and my 40s just because of the way my life went. So there was about this 5-year period in my 40s when I was unattached and just living that wild life I had wanted to in my 20s but never got the chance. But that's a different podcast.
yeah, for sure. I mean, in the hospitality business, sometimes, we dabbled in other gigs. This might have even before I became a musician, but I remember, I don't know why I thought of it, but it just reminded me of it. I was like a waitress in this, it was like a private club. I didn't know what it was. They made me put on an outfit, and then they locked my clothes in the other room, and I'm serving this table of probably gangsters.
Right.
And then I couldn't leave once I realized, this is not what I want to be doing,
Was it a scampi?
It wasn't
scanty.
It was a shrimp scampi.
It was a scampi. Okay.
It wasn't really that showy, but it was definitely in that
zone.
Yeah, to be the cute little thing.
Just to give you an example, one of the clubs that I hung out with that bass player, it was in on Lower Broadway, and I was so naive on some level because a lot of gangsters did hang out there, but it was all kinds of nefarious characters. And I was shooting pool with this guy. He had a very nice suit on, which was a dead giveaway right there. And I was just making conversation. So I said, well, "What do you do for a living?" He gives me this look. He goes,
I murder people.
No. He said, "What do you want to know?" And I said, No.
If I tell you, I'll have to
kill you. Well, then, apropos of, he had to make a shot, he had to lay his body across the table, to make a long shot with the pool cue.
Oh, yeah.
And he took the gun out of his waistband and put it on the cigarette machine while he was doing that. I'm like, all right, I guess I know what this guy does for a living.
Gotta go.
Didn't go.
Yeah. You just walk away. My girlfriend used to play piano in Queens at the Cafe on the Spleen.
Oh, yes. A lovely place.
And one guy, I just realized what I said.
No, I knew it before.
One guy used to came in and always used to ask for this particular song, and she had played it. He asked her to play it again, and she wasn't balking at doing it again, and she was friends with the bartender, and the bartender said, "Play the song. They're murderers."
Oh, God, really?
Really?
Wow.
They're murderers.
Well, I know who told me. Somebody told me. Oh, yeah. My husband knew this woman who was a waitress at a particular catering hall in Howard Beach.
Howard Beach, that's tip off. Yeah. We know.
Yeah. But she told him that when they had party, they would all have to sit with their backs to the walls. She'd have to.
So nobody could pull a gun on them.
That's right, unaware. So the tables would have to be set up very specifically, so everyone had their back to a wall. Yeah, let me play that party.
And you don't. And sometimes you get hard. You don't know
right.
what you're walking into. It could be anything.
Yeah,
So
true.
True. I worked last week. I was in Newark. It wasn't a scary place, but it's I'm working in Newark. I don't know where I'm going to be, and it was okay, but you just don't know.
We have a gig up in Cambridge in a week or two. We'll see how that goes.
Cambridge, Massachusetts.
I know it's not Hawaii, but it's...
Well, that hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go to Hawaii.
That's why we do this gig in Florida. We barter,
Oh, yeah, that was so fun.
Yeah, just to get out of the cold for a little while,
Yeah.
So we do have that option. You can't be a secretary and barter, and go to a hotel, so it's one of the benefits.
Yes.
In the very beginning of my career, as I was getting broken in to the...
That sounds like you.
Like a pair of jeans.
Or a horse.
Or a horse.
Ride her till she breaks.
Well, it's true. When you think about it, in the very first club date, they broke me into 6 months. It was pure hell and torture.
Yeah. I sat with a guy for a good long time like that. I would go to the gigs, not get paid, not play, just sit there and write down every song he played.
Well, see, but I had a different experience. Yeah. I just got put on the gig, and I had to figure it out for 6 months.
On the gig.
And it was horrible.
Were you getting paid?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, but it was pretty, the PA was a guitar amp, and I'd get screamed at for not knowing the songs that they never told me I had to learn, that kind of thing. But anyway, back to the first gig I did was at the Concord Hotel, and it was a great, break-in. There were other bands there, and there was all different levels. Erskine Hawkins, I think, played there.
At that point, was it still, grooving, or was it past its prime?
No. It was when it was in its heyday.
Right.
But I was hired to work with a guy named Artie Narvez.
I love it.
And he was a raging alcoholic.
Oh, perfect.
He was the nicest guy. They always are.
Yeah. Until they're not.
And yeah, he just would really get very drunk. But it was kind of cool because it broke me in on doing hot stuff and
Right.
whatever. We're still doing hot stuff,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. God, ain't it the truth?
Yeah, but I remember just being away, and they gave us like a little employee room, you know, it's this depressing little room, you know, where the paintings are like screwed into the wall, and, you know. And then, you know, I mean, you get to eat in the employee cafeteria every day,
Right.
but it's, you know.
Kind of crummy.
And that's all you have to look forward to. I mean, I was there for over a month.
Oh, my God.
And I think, I don't know if I want to include this in the podcast. This might be edited out, but
Okay.
I remember being so happy when it was finally over that I drove in the car on the way home. Right before the toll booths on the Whitestone
good.
Bridge.
Oh, my God. Good for you. I, too, have in the car.
You know, it was just like, oh, I'm so happy to be out of there. It was so hellacious.
Can't we leave it in?
Maybe. That's what he said.
We should really leave it in. Great. All right. I think we're up to credit
Now
of the
the world
week.
knows I.
Well, you're not alone. All right. Should we try and sing credit of the week?
Okay.
Okay.
Credit of the week.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's your week, Marla Jo. What do you got?
Okay, well, going through the 80s and 90s, I actually landed a little dance record deal on Emergency Records.
Emergency records.
It was the same label that Shannon Let the Music Play.
Oh, yeah, I remember that song.
And there was someone else too, Nolan, someone. And anyway, I had done the track with Lenny White, the jazz drummer, and Alan Palanker, great keyboard player. We wrote the
A.K.A. Al Palace.
Al Pal, great keyboard player, and this was he was part of the club date band I was in, and just we did a track at Lenny's house. He used to live in Laurelton, Queens, and
Oh, wow.
I put lyrics and music to this really good track, and we sold it. And it was only marketed as a dance record, but it got really nice reviews. It didn't make it as a dance record; it was a pop record.
Right.
But you know,
Right.
I had a record out, and I was supposed to do a second one, and then that didn't happen. But it was nice. It's on YouTube. It's called Hard to Love on Emergency Records.
H-A-R-D?
H-A-R-D. Hard to Love. It's about one of my boyfriends. He was
Hard to love?
yeah, he was ridiculous. And, you know, it was a nice credit to have.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard it in a club. The funny story is because they pushed it as a dance record, they send it to all the DJs.
Sure.
So I'm at, like, this club in Roslyn, Long Island, and I get the DJ to put it on, you know, and, like, everybody sits down.
Oh, God.
So it was like all my hopes were dashed at that
yeah.
moment, you know. But,
That's, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
well, you know, it's part of the record business. You know, you get your little shot, and
I know.
you know, it doesn't last forever.
Yeah,
It was a good
I
record, though. If you want to check it out, Hard
Yeah,
to
I mean,
Love.
and just getting to...
Marla Adler under my real name.
Oh, yeah. Cool. That too.
Yeah.
Getting to work with, in a professional situation, with professionals who really know how to record and, like, creating
yeah.
a track, all that. It's very exciting, heady stuff.
Well, it was remixed by Mark Liggett, the same people, you know, that did Shannon. So
Yeah.
it was, Herb Pump Powers mastered it. I mean, like his name was always on all the
Right.
dance records, and yeah. So
Okay.
we all try.
Alrighty, so until next time, audience, may your gigs be plentiful.
May your GPS signal, bleh, I'm tired, never falter.
Okay.
Your heart to love. When you go, you never leave behind a word that shows that you're thinking little things that you don't know how to say. Deep inside, I think you really need me. You don't show how much my love would be due. You think, Lord.
To hear the full song, follow the link on the Gig Hose Facebook page. The Gig Hose podcast is produced and recorded by Marla Joe and Willa Basson, also known as The Gig Hose. Thanks to Jeremy Goldberg for opening voiceover.